A very good evening to all our viewers. You're watching World News on CVR English with me, Asma Afreen. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, addressing the EU Parliament, described the ongoing US-Ukraine peace talks led by President Donald Trump as merely the beginning of a longer process. She emphasized that while Washington's involvement is welcome, Europe must continue exerting pressure on Russia until a fair and lasting settlement is achieved. Von der Leyen underlined that any agreement must ensure genuine security for both Ukraine and the European Union, reflecting Europe's broader concerns about stability. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed readiness to move forward with the US-backed framework, signaling Kyiv's commitment to negotiations. The developments highlight Europe's cautious optimism, balancing support for US efforts with insistence on safeguarding democratic and security principles.
Lasting peace, this is what we all want. And this is why Europe supports all efforts to build that peace for Ukraine. A peace that stops the killing, one that avoids setting a dangerous precedent, one that guarantees Ukraine's security and its sovereign rights in the long term, and that ensures a robust security architecture for Europe. This is why we welcome the efforts led by President Trump. After months of discussions, it is important that the work on an actual text started. Of course, we know that much more effort is needed. But I believe, thanks to the work of Ukraine, the United States, and us Europeans over the last few days in Geneva, we now have a starting point, one that avoids setting a dangerous precedent. Any agreement should deliver a just and lasting peace. And it should ensure real security for Ukraine and Europe. And this is as much about deterrence as it is about Europe's security, because Ukraine's security is Europe's security, so Ukraine needs robust, long-term and credible security guarantees as part of a wider package to dissuade and deter any future attacks from Russia. As a sovereign nation, there can be no limitations on Ukraine's armed forces. So we need to be clear that there cannot be unilateral carving up of a sovereign European nation, and that borders cannot be changed by force. If today we legitimize and formalize the undermining of borders, we open the doors for more wars tomorrow, and we cannot let this happen. Europe's future is bound to Ukraine's future, and therefore Ukraine's future lies in the European Union. This is not only a matter of destiny, this is a core and essential part.
At the Kremlin, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Kyrgyz's President Sadir Japarov reaffirmed the nation's close partnership, highlighting cooperation across trade, energy, education and peaceful atomic technology. Putin noted double-digit growth in bilateral trade, ongoing school construction and Russian teachers working in Kyrgyzstan as example of tangible progress. Japarov emphasized full political trust between the two countries and expressed strong interest in expanding collaboration in energy, transport, industry and agriculture. The meeting underscored both leaders' commitment to strengthening ties and advancing shared development goals across multiple sectors.
Dear Soderzovic, thank you very much for the invitation. My colleagues and I are very pleased to be in friendly Kyrgyzstan. This visit is taking place ahead of the meeting of the Collective Security Council of the Collective Security Treaty Organization. We highly appreciate the extensive work Kyrgyzstan has accomplished during its chairmanship of the Collective Security Treaty Organization. Russia is taking over your country's presidency and will chair the organization in 2026. Russian-Kyrgyz relations of strategic partnership and alliance are successfully developing based on mutual respect and consideration of each other's interests in the spirit of the basic treaty of friendship and cooperation. We are also in constant contact with you and personally monitoring key issues of bilateral cooperation. At the end of the year, we will have another opportunity to meet in Russia for a meeting of the Supreme Eurasian Council and the traditional pre-New Year meeting of CIS leaders. The agenda for our talks is quite extensive. A joint policy statement on deepening the alliance and strategic partnership has been prepared for signing, outlining the key objectives for further strengthening Russian-Kyrgyz cooperation in a wide range of areas. In addition, a package of key intergovernmental and interdepartmental documents in trade, economics, education, migration, and other areas will be signed. Russia is Kyrgyzstan's leading trade and economic partner. Last year, trade turnover increased by 13.6% to a record $4.10.
A massive blaze broke out at Wang Fuk Courts in Hong Kong's Thai Port District on Wednesday afternoon, rapidly engulfing bamboo scaffolding and prompting authorities to raise the emergency level from number 1 to number 4. Among the city's highest fire alerts, thick black smoke towered over the neighborhood as residents reported being trapped inside, while strong winds carried flaming debris that ignited a second nearby building. Fire services and police urged residents to remain indoors, shut windows and avoid the area as dry conditions and high winds intensified risk. Rescue teams continue searching for trapped individuals and assessing structural safety, underscoring mounting concerns over fire hazards linked to bamboo scaffolding in Hong Kong's dense residential complexes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Kyiv is prepared to advance discussions on a US-backed framework aimed at ending the war with Russia, while making clear that Europe must remain central to the process. Addressing allies via video link, he said Ukraine is willing to tackle unresolved issues directly with President Donald Trump but rejected any settlements that compromises sovereignty or imposes concessions. Recent talks between Washington and Kyiv have sought to bridge differences over Trump's plan, which Ukraine fears could lean towards Moscow's demands, including territorial concessions. Zelensky emphasized that genuine peace must rest on justice and firm security guarantee, not external pressure, underscoring Kyiv's determination to safeguard national independence while engaging in negotiations.
In questo momento, quando si parla di sicurezza, non c'è nulla che ci divida e non ci sono questioni separate. Tutto ci riguarda tutti e tutti devono essere pienamente informati. Crediamo formalmente che le decisioni sulla sicurezza riguardanti l'Ucraina debbano includere l'Ucraina. Questa era la nostra posizione a Ginevra e le decisioni sulla sicurezza riguardanti l'Europa devono sempre includere l'Europa. E lo stesso vale per Canada, Giappone, Australia, Nuova Zelanda, altri paesi e ogni nazione. E questo è semplicemente giusto e funziona davvero perché quando qualcosa viene deciso alle spalle del paese o della sua gente c'è sempre un alto rischio che semplicemente non funzioni. La Francia. Ora abbiamo un buon risultato da Ginevra e dagli incontri e dai colloqui che hanno avuto luogo lì. L'Ucraina deve avere il quadro sviluppato dai nostri team a Ginevra. Quel quadro è sul tavolo e siamo pronti ad andare avanti insieme agli Stati Uniti d'America, con l'impegno personale del presidente Trump e con l'Europa, con i leader e con tutti i partner che hanno i loro punti di forza e la loro capacità di aiutare. E sono pronto a incontrare il presidente Trump e ci sono punti delicati da discutere. Li abbiamo ancora, ma non dobbiamo perdere di vista la realtà. La guerra della Russia contro di noi non appartiene al passato, accade ogni singolo giorno. Ogni giorno la Russia miete vittime ucraine. Ieri sera c'è stato un altro massiccio attacco al nostro paese, quindi non possiamo rilassarci o dimenticare che l'Ucraina ha ancora bisogno di supporto alla difesa, alla sicurezza e alla nostra resilienza ogni giorno. E finché la Russia non avrà adottato misure concrete per la smobilitazione, misure concrete per fermare la sua macchina da guerra, misure che dimostrerebbero chiaramente che la Russia fa sul serio nel porre fine a questa guerra di aggressione, non abbiamo il diritto di smettere di lavorare per sostenere l'Ucraina. Dobbiamo proteggere le vite.
Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te unveiled a sweeping $40 billion supplementary defense budget aimed at strengthening the island's military readiness against mounting pressure from China. Speaking at the presidential office, Lai warned that compromise in the face of aggression leads only to enslavement, underscoring Taiwan's resolve to defend its sovereignty and democratic way of life. The package, worth $1.25 trillion, aligns with Washington's call for Taipei to increase defense spending, echoing similar demands made of European allies. Lai emphasized that by 2030, Taiwan intends to raise defense expenditure to 5% of GDP, signaling a long-term commitment to deterrence and security preparedness in the face of regional challenges.
Broadcast online. Let us welcome President Lai, Vice President Xiao, Premier Cho of the Executive Yuan, Secretary General Pan of the Presidential Office, Secretary General Wu of the National Security Council, Minister Ji Yu of the Ministry of National Defense, and the Ministry of Economic Affairs. The
Beijing authorities are comprehensively advancing their attempts to transform democratic Taiwan into Chinese Taiwan. These actions have already posed a serious threat to our national security and Taiwan's freedom and democracy. As the international community has observed, China's threat to Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific region is intensifying. Recently, various types of military provocations, maritime gray zone activities, and disinformation and cognitive warfare operations around Japan, the Philippines, and the Taiwan Strait have caused deep unease and concern among all parties in the region, including our country. Beijing also aims to complete the unification of Taiwan by 2027, accelerating its military preparations against Taiwan and continuously escalating exercises and non-conventional provocations around Taiwan, attempting to force unification and subjugation through military means and ultimately annex Taiwan. Beyond military force, China is escalating legal warfare, psychological warfare, and propaganda warfare, attempting to eliminate Taiwan's sovereignty in the world, and further attempting cross-border repression and infiltration to gradually erode the jurisdiction of the Republic of China government and create the illusion of de facto governance. Within Taiwan, China is intensifying United Front infiltration and division, confusing the national identity of our citizens and undermining our unity to forcibly implement their proposed one country, two systems Taiwan plan. The purpose of all these actions is to confine free, prosperous, and globally influential democratic Taiwan within authoritarian China, achieving their ambition of annexing Taiwan and dominating the Indo-Pacific region. In response to this unprecedentedly severe situation, the National Security Team has planned two major action plans to comprehensively address the urgent national security threats and resolutely safeguard democratic Taiwan. The first goal is to achieve high combat readiness capabilities for the national armed forces before 2027 to effectively deter Chinese threats. The second goal is to further build a highly robust and comprehensive deterrent defense capability by 2033. The ultimate goal is to construct a national defense capability that can permanently defend democratic Taiwan.
The spectacular on and off eruption of Hawaii's Kilauea volcano reignited Tuesday, thrilling residents and visitors as fiery fountains of lava shot nearly 400 feet in the sky. The Big Island's most active volcano has dazzled for almost a year with interment burst, and its latest display underscores both the beauty and the volatility of the natural wonder. Aerial footage captured dramatic scenes in southern Thailand where several floodings left streets and buildings inundated, with cars nearly submerged under rising water. The Dulge has triggered widespread disruption, raising concerns over safety and infrastructure damage as authorities continue rescue and relief operations.
Quy hoạch thôi nào. Quy hoạch thôi nào.
Firefighters reportedly said that smoke was rising from a warehouse fire in Southall, West London, and they had been working continuously to contain the blaze. It was mentioned that the London Fire Brigade had classified the situation as a protracted incident, explaining that complex challenges were still present and the cause of the fire had not yet been determined. Observers noted that the emergency services were facing difficulties in managing the situation, and officials emphasized that investigations were ongoing. The community was informed that safety measures were being prioritized, while the authorities stressed that patience was required until clarity emerged regarding the origin of the incident. It was said that Pauline Hanson, the 71-year-old leader of the anti-Muslim and anti-immigration One Nation Minor Party, has been accused of carrying out a disrespectful stunt in the Senate. Reports explain that she had walked into the chamber shrouded in a head-to-ankle garment, intending to protest against her fellow senators' refusal to consider her proposed bill. The bill was aimed at banning the burqa and other full face coverings in public places. Observers noted that her action sparked controversy, with critics arguing that the demonstration was offensive, while supporters claimed she was highlighting an issue she believed required urgent attention.
Yesterday, purely to get attention, and not for the first time, it's an old play, Senator Hanson mocked and vilified an entire faith. a faith observed by nearly 1 million Australians and the second largest religion in this country. Colleagues, senators, freedom of expression is central to who we are as Australian, but so too is respect. And I believe, and I think most of this Senate believes, that disrespecting fellow Australians because of their faith is itself un-Australian.
I think it's so hypocritical to see that you're supposed to be defending women's rights, but you're not going out there and fighting for these women to wear this burqa, full face coverings, when it's against, their will.
Thank you, President. I move that Senator Hanson be suspended for the Senate for 7 sitting days.
So the question is, the motion is moved by Senator Wong be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? No. I believe the ayes have it.
The people will judge me at the next election.
Senator Hanson, come to order. Senator Hanson, come to order. The division
Yesterday, purely to get attention,
It was mentioned that one of the 2 turkeys said to be pardoned by President Donald Trump had appeared in the White House's briefing room before the Rose Garden ceremony. Reports explain that the bird, weighing about 50 pounds and named Waddle, had wandered near the podium where Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt typically addresses reporters. Observers noted that the unusual sight drew attention and amusement as the turkey's presence symbolized the annual tradition of pardoning. Commentators added that the moment highlighted the lighter side of presidential duties, while also reminding audiences of the ceremonial customs that accompany the Thanksgiving season in the United States.
Hi, guys. Come on up, Waddle. Welcome to the press briefing room. Do you guys have any questions about the bird?
Yes. Waddle, please look around the room. How many turkeys do you see?
What's Waddle's life been like? Waddle's life has been wonderful, living on the farm in North Carolina with our grower Travis Pittman and the National Turkey Federation Chairman Jay Jandren. He, along with Gobble, who you'll see a little bit later, they've been given the luxury experience, but they're raised just like any commercial turkey operation. They're just given a little bit of extra tender love and care because they're going to go meet the big guy. Well, they're going to be retiring to North Carolina State University, where they're going to go and be turkey ambassadors for our industry.
Hi, Waddle. Oh my goodness, he's a beautiful bird.
Yes, they're beautiful. Oh, you want to give us a gobble?
Very on message.
He spreads the turkey gospel.
What do you think, buddy? Gobble, gobble. That's... Come on in, Waddle. Hi, guys.
It was reported that President Donald Trump had mixed jokes with pointed remarks during the annual Thanksgiving turkey pardon on Tuesday. Observers explained that he had quipped about naming the birds after Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, adding humor to the ceremony. It was also mentioned that he had claimed Joe Biden's 2024 pardons were invalid, which drew attention from those present. Commentators noted that the event combined light-hearted tradition with political undertones, as Trump's remarks blended entertainment with criticism. The ceremony was described as both festive and controversial, reflecting the unique style he often brought to public occasions.
Today we continue a time-honored American tradition. Well, that's a well-trained turkey. See how happy he is? In a few moments, I will grant a full, absolute, and unconditional presidential pardon to 2 handsome Thanksgiving turkeys, and this is their lucky day. This is a lucky day for them. The turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those 2 people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Sleepy Joe Biden, he used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid. They're hereby null and void. The turkeys known as Peach and Blossom last year have been located, and they were on their way to be processed, in other words, to be killed. But I have stopped that journey, and I am officially pardoning them, and they will not be served for Thanksgiving dinner. We saved them in the nick of time. This one has plenty of time, but they were saved in the nick of time.
Looks like a rather violent bird.
Are you ready? Gobble. I just want to tell you this very important. You are hereby unconditionally
It was stated on Tuesday that President Donald Trump had remarked his plan to end the war in Ukraine was making progress. Reports indicated that he was sending envoy Steve Witkoff along with his son-in-law Jared Kushner to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Observers explained that Trump's comments suggested ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at resolving the conflict. Analysts noted that the involvement of Kushner and Witkoff highlighted his reliance on trusted figures to carry forward negotiations. Commentators added that the announcement drew significant attention as it reflected Trump's attempt to position himself as actively engaged in international peace efforts.
We started with Russia. We're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
What are the big
We settled 8 wars, and I thought this would be one of the easier ones because of my relationship with President Putin. But this is probably one of the more difficult ones. There's a lot of hatred.
What's the next step?
They're going to keep talking. They're talking to Russia now. Steve Witkoff is going over, maybe with Jared. I'm not sure about Jared.